All right, welcome back to the innovation stage. Our next speaker is Stefan Klauser. He is the co-founder and CEO at aisot. Please join me in welcoming Stefan to our virtual stage.
Thank you, Patricia, for introducing me. As you said, I'm Stefan Klauser, co-founder and CEO of aisot. Let me share my slides with you. Okay, let me take you on a short journey around the history of predictability and what this has to do with our company at aisot. Actually, ever since I was a child, I was interested in whether there is a certain predictability in life or whether it's just a completely random series of events. And in general, humans have always been trying to predict the future. For instances, in ancient China, in the Neolithic period, the Shang dynasty, actually specialists, they inscribed questions on the shells of tortoise, and then they inserted heat into that, and that cracked the shell. And from that, they tried to derive answers around these questions, either positive or negative ones, or sometimes even specific meanings. This is actually no different today. We still try to forecast different things in life. For example, financial markets, that's obvious, but also supply chains, things around healthcare, where could the next pandemic happen, or also things like what's the next trend, or what's the next jump in the Bitcoin price. So today, we talk about market forecasting. And for that, in principle, there is quite some, let's say, ambiguity in research. So a very famous article in Econometrica, actually a paper study, showed already in 1944 that from 11 leading financial periodicals, it was in fact not possible to make any future assumptions about the value of stock market. And then also very famous book that is still used in economic theory that says that in principle, markets, they're efficient and all the information is priced in, and that any kind of deviation from an actual value of a stock is completely random. And then on the other hand, you have this very famous gentleman here, probably one of the most famous investors of our days, Warren Buffett. At the speech at Columbia University in 1984, he said something like that he's convinced that there is much inefficiency in the market. In fact, that market prices are frequently nonsensical. And whenever somebody looks at recent happenings in the stock market, it becomes quite clear that he was right in a certain way. It's probably cynical to take him as a base for an argument, and because he clearly didn't see any value in short-term forecasting. But if somebody can actually exploit inefficiencies in the longer term, why isn't it possible to exploit them in the shorter term? Today, there's actually a lot of different approaches to forecast the market. Clearly, Mr. Buffett, he was one of the fundamental analysts. Then we know technical analysis. It's about geometric shapes and how to use them to predict future curves of markets. It's actually shown in meta studies that this can have some value, but it's quite difficult because many people see many different geometric shapes in the market. Then there is kind of approaches that are more social based. We recently saw more and more social trading happening. Keyword Wall Street bets. There's often a little bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy that works for a few early movers in the market. And then there is the more systematic approach to that, which is called prediction markets. In research, it has been shown that prediction markets have value, but they're also slow and expensive. So what else is there? There is a totally different field that is comparably new. It's called machine learning or artificial intelligence. And there we can actually access the data sphere to automatically find patterns and make assumptions about the future. We especially look at supervised learning or reinforcement learning. Or even more in detail, what is most interesting are regressions in supervised learning for market forecasting, or also reinforcement learning to derive real-time decision support. Still, it's hard to predict future events. There's three main challenges. Challenge one, data. One needs to have access to excellent data sources. One needs to decide which data is relevant at which point in time. And also one needs the right tools. Number two, to make sense of the data. And to know the right tools is not very trivial. It also needs a lot of good researchers to stay ahead of the curve in what are the right tools and how they are applied. Then tools need to be re-evaluated, and we also need to retrain models on a very steady basis. And third point is efficiency. One has to have an overview of costs that are related to computing power, cloud costs, and similar things when applying machine learning. So the whole aspect of scalability, of how much work power that is used, but also how much technical instruments are used, is not negligible. And on top of that, what is coming as a bonus, so to say, is that in principle, real-time data is growing heavily. So over the next 5 years is projected to grow 5-fold and to make up almost 1/3 of the data available. How to make use of that data and in a best and most efficient way. So at aisot, we're actually using in-house developed machine learning algorithms that allow us to dynamically combine different data sources with mixed characteristics. So with that, I want to say we can use market data. We can actually also use things around alternative data sets, for example, news, or we can use social media, and we can actually have one step, a so-called collapsed process that is a direct and fast process, and we can derive the next generation signals from them that are having a clear asset class, a clear goal function, and also a clear time horizon for that forecast. So in other words, we're doing analytics and forecasts and mainly concentrate on cryptocurrencies and Forex markets at this point because of obviously more easy access to the data that we need. This is a very quick overview from a visualization that shows how we can predict Bitcoin price over the coming period and how this is related to the actual price. The 67.13 shows the accuracy that we reached over the last 24 hours. This dashboard is always live, and you can ask us if you want to have a look at it. From research, we could actually show that we can have better forecasts, minus 50% errors with the so-called temporal mixture models that my two co-founders were actually co-authoring with some colleagues from Paris Tech. And we also could show that in 75% correct cases, we could be correct in forecasting multi-class settings. So these are numbers that are quite unique in this space. To simplify a little bit, we wanted to show here that we're one step further down the value chain than, for example, our most obvious competitors like Bloomberg or Yuka Labs that are more into sentiments and data. We do directly actionable predictions on top of that. We're a team of 3 co-founders from ETH Zurich and 5 advisors with a lot of experience in the market. So if you want to reassess how you deal with data in your company and how you would actually want to do forecasting, and if you want to work with a partner that can give you a statistical advantage in the decisions that you take, please reach out to us. We would be happy to talk to you and see what we can do for your specific use case. Thank you very much for your time. I'm happy to talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Stefan. If you could stop sharing your screen, perfect. The audience is giving you a big virtual round of applause. All right.
Thank you very much.
It's time for you to make your way to your next session. Along the way, make sure to accept your connection request and check out our awesome AI exhibits. Thanks so much, and we'll see you around.